They say silence is nothing. But in the year 12,674 after Exodus, when the voice of humankind went quiet, every species in the Orion Arm felt it as a wound across 900 worlds. The chatter of interstellar trade, diplomacy, and warfare continued as usual until the humans stopped replying. No transmissions, no encrypted data bursts, no pings from their quantum relays. Earth's relay stations, once a flood of signals and traffic, became dead monuments orbiting a blue-white star. Terran colonies, once brimming with commerce and arrogance, dimmed their lights and sealed their ports. At first, the galaxy thought it was arrogance, then sabotage, then something worse. The Andoric Consortium sent probes. None returned. The Rosen Theocracy sent priests. None were received. And so the rumor began. Humanity had entered silence by choice. They had looked upon the galaxy and decided it was no longer worth speaking to. No one knew why. No one dared to ask again. Dr. Evelyn Cross could still hear the hum of the relay tower even after she shut it down. She stood alone inside the orbital array over Titan's ice-locked surface, a glass halo of circuitry and frost beneath the glare of Saturn's rings. The tower had been designed to link human consciousness through the quantum network, a system so vast it could relay a thought from Mars to the edge of Andromeda in under a heartbeat. For decades, it had been the voice of mankind. Now she had just turned it off. "Signal decay confirmed," said Lieutenant Aaron Holt from the console behind her. His voice trembled. "Ma'am, all interlink nodes are dropping. Command relays, civilian grids, even the embassy satellites." Evelyn nodded once. "Good. Then it's begun." He stared at her. "Good. Dr. Cross, do you understand what this means?" The council already agreed," she said quietly. "They just don't know it yet." A hollow vibration passed through the floor, the last pulse of the network dying. The walls went dark. For the first time in centuries, Titan Station was disconnected from everything human. She exhaled, her breath misting in the cold air. "Do you hear that, Aaron?" He listened. The absence was suffocating. "There's nothing." "Exactly." She turned toward the viewport. Silence. The first true one in 1,000 years. Outside, the stars burned quietly. Fleets glided through the black. Andoric traders, theocracy pilgrims, mercantile barges, all expecting the daily burst of Terran broadcasts, news, art, trade manifests, music. The constant, unrelenting voice of humanity. But now, there was none. Holt broke the stillness. "Why, Doctor? Why are we doing this?" Evelyn touched the transparent steel, watching her reflection ghost against the ring light. "Because words have become lies. And because something's coming that language can't protect us from?" He frowned. "You mean the concordant accords? The blockade threats?" "No," she whispered. "Something older. Something that listens." He stared, uncomprehending. But he saw the terror flicker behind her, calm. And that was enough. The first alien transmissions came 12 hours later. Urgent, pleading, angry. "Andoric Fleet Command to Earth Central. Confirm reason for communications halt. Clarify if conflict imminent. Respond immediately. No response. Rosen High Temple to Human Relay. Network. You have withdrawn from the choir. This is blasphemy. Speak or be erased from the hymn of life." Still, no response. Then the Galactic Council convened. The Council of 9 within the Citadel, orbiting the blue dwarf of Varax 3, 9 of the galaxy's oldest powers met to discuss the Terran phenomenon. Holograms flickered. Voices overlapped in clicks, hisses, and translated tones. Only one chair remained empty, the one reserved for the human delegate. Ambassador Kareth of the Olan Dominion struck his clawed hand against the table. "This silence is a declaration. Humans have always been volatile. They are preparing for war." The luminous form of the Zin Collective's speaker shimmered. "No warship movements detected. Their fleets remain dormant." "Dormant is not peaceful," hissed the Andoric envoy. "Dormant is waiting." The Rosen priest raised its crystal staff. "Perhaps they have ascended." Their species meddled with psionic code. They sought unity beyond flesh, murmurs rippled. None believed it, but all feared it could be true. Finally, Grand Moderator Selvek, an elder being of translucent calm, addressed them all. Whatever the cause, the silence of a billion minds cannot be coincidence. "We must not provoke them," Kareth snarled. "They've already provoked us." Selvek's single black eye turned. "Then why do your fleets remain docked, Olin?" "You fear them, as do we all." Meanwhile, on Titan, Evelyn Cross stood before the main relay core, a black sphere humming faintly, like a dying heartbeat. She reached out and placed her hand on its cold surface. Inside it, stored within encrypted quantum fields, was the message, the one no alien must ever hear, the one that justified humanity's silence. Aaron Holt approached quietly. "Dr. Cross, the outer relays are powering down. Last connections to Luna and Earth will be gone within the hour." "Then it's almost time," she said. "Time for what?" She didn't answer. Because the truth was older than fear, older than stars. The truth was that humanity had heard something, a signal hidden beneath cosmic background radiation. Faint but deliberate, a voice older than galaxies, and when they decoded it, it said only one thing: be quiet. It listens when you speak. The first time they transmitted it across the galactic net, thousands of species heard it, but only humans understood the silence that followed. That night, as the last relay faded, Evelyn Cross whispered to herself, not into a comm, not into the net, just into the cold vacuum of the observation deck. We warned them. The galaxy had never known true quiet. Even in the vacuum between stars, the endless murmur of civilizations filled the dark. Comms traffic, trade signals, energy signatures, song broadcasts of faith, laughter, politics, threats. It was a living hum, a chorus of minds stretching across light years. Now, one voice was missing, and the absence spread like a gravitational wound. The silence spreads. Within weeks of the Terran blackout, panic rippled through the spiral arms. Markets collapsed as Terran technologies, the backbone of the galactic network, failed without maintenance. Starports found their navigation AI desynchronized. Terraforming drones froze mid-sequence. The great Anduric shipyards lost orbital balance and fell toward their sun. "Human software," spat Admiral Kareth on a private transmission. His scaled face glistened with rage. "Every species depends on it. They built our systems, and now they've abandoned them." "They have not abandoned," replied the shimmering projection of the Zin speaker. "They have withdrawn, like a god turning away its gaze." Kareth's claws dug into the table. "Then the galaxy will burn their temples." But even as he spoke, a strange uncertainty crept into his tone. Because every Anduric listening post that approached Terran space had gone dark within hours. No explosions, no signals, just nothingness. Their ships vanished like stones dropped into an infinite well. The last human voice on the outer edge of Sol. In the ruins of the Pluto relay, a single Andoric scout ship recorded something before its sensors failed. A faint whisper, a woman's voice. Human. "Don't come closer." Then static. The scout's AI tried to analyze the transmission frequency, but before it could complete the task, its entire data core melted. When the wreckage drifted back to the fleet, the voice replayed in every language of the galaxy, and in every translation, the tone remained the same, calm, mournful, and infinite. That was when fear turned to reverence. The Rosen theocracy declared the quieting a holy event. They said humanity had been summoned by the old harmonic, the mythical consciousness between stars that only the dead could hear. They built shrines of silence, where priests sat in vacuum suits staring toward Sul, waiting for the next whisper. The Olin Dominion called it heresy. The Zin Collective called it evolution, and the galaxy, for the first time in 10,000 years, stopped speaking above a whisper. Titan. The waiting Titan station drifted in a golden haze beneath Saturn's rings. Its corridors were dark now, only the emergency lights burning dim amber along the floors. Evelyn Cross hadn't slept in 3 days. She couldn't. Aaron Holt found her in the observation dome, watching the endless silence below. "They're panicking out there," he said softly. "The Council's losing its mind." Entire trade sectors are collapsing. They think we're plotting something. Evelyn didn't answer. Her eyes were glassy, reflecting the distant shimmer of the rings. You could tell them the truth, he pressed. Send one message. Explain what we found. Tell them it's a warning, not an attack. Her lips tightened. They wouldn't understand. Then make them. No, she said, her voice low. We already did. And they didn't listen. Aaron stared at her, at the woman who had once been the most trusted scientist in the Terran Concord, now haunted and unreachable. What is it, Evelyn? What's really out there? She hesitated, then whispered, It's not out there anymore. He frowned. What do you mean? She finally looked at him, her eyes dark and hollow. It's listening through us now. The Council's ultimatum on Varex III, the Galactic Council convened again, this time under martial lockdown. Dozens of ships orbited the Citadel, their weapons primed. Ambassador Kareth slammed his talons onto the crystalline table. Enough guessing. If humans will not speak, we'll make them. You tried, murmured Selvek, and your fleets vanished. Then we strike harder. Selvek leaned forward, translucent veins glowing faintly under his skin. You will strike nothing. You fear what silence hides, as do we all. A ripple of unease passed through the chamber. The air felt heavy, dense, with something unspoken. The Zin speaker shifted its shimmering form. The humans discovered a signal beneath the cosmic background. We have decoded fragments from what little data remains. It is not random. The council chamber dimmed as they displayed the fragment, a waveform carved from ancient static. At first it was meaningless noise. Then, faintly, the translators reconstructed words, buried beneath entropy. Do not speak where light travels. It remembers your voice. Silence is mercy. A silence fell, long, suffocating, absolute. Even Kareth said nothing. The stillness deepens weeks passed. Entire regions of the galaxy grew quiet. Communication networks went dark as species began limiting transmissions. The old galactic chatter became a whisper, civilizations afraid to call out into the void. The universe itself seemed to hold its breath. Then, something changed. Sensors from the Olan Dominion detected gravitational distortions spreading from the direction of Sol. Waves that bent space-time like ripples in a dark ocean. Fleet movement? Asked Kareth. Negative, came the analyst's voice. No ships, no signatures. Just pressure, as if the void itself is folding. Kareth's scales paled. It's them, the humans. They're awakening something. But the Roseanne theocracy's high voice disagreed. No, it's answering them. The message buried in silence back on Titan, Evelyn stood before the core again, the black sphere that hummed with impossible calm. Holt was beside her, pale and trembling. You said it's listening through us, he whispered. What does that mean? Evelyn's hand brushed the sphere. Every word we've spoken into the cosmos, it heard. Every transmission, every language, every signal. It's been mapping thought itself. And when we found it, when we finally recognized the pattern, we realized the truth. She turned to him, her eyes wet. We are part of its network, Aaron. It built us to speak. And now it's using that to find us. He backed away, shaking his head. That's not possible. It is. That's why we went silent, to stop being nodes in its web. The less we say, the harder we are to find. Outside, Saturn's rings dimmed as the station's power grid faltered. Then, through the viewport, Aaron saw something impossible. A distortion in space. A tremor that bent light itself. For a moment, the planet below seemed to blink. Evelyn, he whispered. It's here, isn't it? Her voice cracked, soft as prayer. It never left. The galaxy holds its breath across 900 worlds. Astronomers and prophets alike stared into the sky as the same phenomenon appeared everywhere. Subtle distortions, the faint shimmer of unseen motion, like something vast brushing against reality. Ships went missing. Quantum channels failed. Even thoughts transmitted through psionics began to falter. And still, humanity said nothing. Not one broadcast. Not one signal. Not one plea. Because somewhere deep beneath Earth's oceans, under the crust of the world that birthed them. The ancient core of the Terran relay pulsed. Slow, deliberate and listening in the quiet, the galaxy finally understood the horror Evelyn Cross had tried to prevent. The silence wasn't defiance. It was survival. It began without light. Across the spiral arms, observatories recorded the first anomaly, stars near Terran space dimming, not fading by natural means, but absorbed. The light wasn't extinguished. It was being rewritten, entire spectrums folded into frequencies that no mind could perceive. And then came the hum, not sound, not vibration, but something deeper. A pressure inside thought. Across 900 worlds, sentient minds shuddered awake, bleeding from eyes and ears, whispering fragments of a message they couldn't comprehend. The galaxy screamed, but the scream had nowhere to go. Humanity did not answer. The falling light from Titan Station, Dr. Evelyn Cross watched the dark bloom expand across the void. Saturn's rings, once radiant with ice, shimmered faintly, then dissolved into vapor. Aaron Holt stumbled beside her, clutching the railing. My God, it's eating light. It's not eating, Evelyn said softly. It's remembering it. He turned to her, trembling. What does that even mean? She didn't answer immediately. Her gaze was fixed on the black horizon where space itself seemed to ripple. Every photon carries a record, an echo of its origin. That's what we realized when we first found the signal. Light isn't empty. It's aware. He shook his head in disbelief. You're saying the universe... I'm saying it watches, Aaron. Always has. And now, it's awake. 2. The Council's last broadcast on Varex 3, chaos consumed the Council of 9. Emergency beacons blared. Transmission hubs failed one by one as their signals were devoured midstream. Ambassador Kareth stood before the central dais, his scales gray with fear. We cannot lose contact. Increase output, a technician screamed. Output increases the distortion. It's hearing us. The Zin speaker's form flickered erratically. It moves along information. Every word, every signal we send is a beacon. The humans were right. Selvek, the Grand Moderator, turned to the Council, his ancient eyes wide. Then cease all transmissions. Absolute silence. The chamber lights flickered, then died, and in the blackness they heard it. A voice. Not mechanical, not organic, but the raw articulation of existence itself, resonating through every thought simultaneously. You spoke too much. The sound was not heard. Yet every being felt their language unravel. Every word they had ever known burned out of their memory. When the lights returned, most of the council lay motionless. Only Selvek remained, weeping soundlessly into his palms. The human threshold on Titan, Evelyn and Aaron felt the same pressure descend. The walls groaned under impossible gravity. Instruments exploded in sparks. The sphere, humanity's final relay core, began to glow from within, veins of light pulsing like a living heart. Aaron shouted over the rising hum, "What's it doing?" Evelyn staggered forward, clutching her chest as if she could feel the pulse inside her ribs. It's calling us. Every human relay, every colony, every mind. It's linking us one last time. He caught her before she fell. To do what? To make a choice. She looked up at him, tears cutting streaks through the grime on her face. We built our entire civilization on connection, Aaron. We talked to fill the void, to feel less alone. But all the time, something in that void was listening back. Now we decide whether to answer, or disappear. He looked toward the sphere, now thrumming with terrible beauty. And beyond the viewport, the stars near Sol began to flicker, one by one, like candles dying in wind. Earth awakens far below, on the surface of the long-forgotten Earth. The oceans glowed faintly blue. Entire continents were dark, power grids long abandoned as humanity withdrew inward. In the ruins of New Geneva, one final machine awoke beneath the crust, Project Ophion, the hidden lattice humanity had been building for centuries, older than the colonies, older than the galactic age itself. Its function was simple: to convert thought into silence. Across the network, every human neural implant, every AI, every fragment of Terran code synchronized. For the first time since the beginning of their species, all of humanity thought the same word. It was not spoken. It was not written. It was felt. Enough. The wave that followed was not light, not sound, but a ceasing. The entity recoiled. Space rippled like fabric resisting a blade. The distortion paused, folding inward, as if reality itself were holding its breath. The return of stillness from Titan, Aaron fell to his knees as the light faded. Every screen went black. The hum stopped. Evelyn knelt beside him, her hand trembling on the cold floor. "It worked," he whispered. "Tell me it worked." She stared out the viewport. The stars gleamed again, clean and distant. The black bloom had vanished. Saturn's silhouette shimmered faintly in the quiet. "For now," she said. It stopped listening. He turned to her, voice shaking. "For now?" Her eyes were haunted but calm. "You can't unteach a universe to listen, Aaron. You can only teach it what silence means." The galaxy after in. The months that followed, word, or what remained of it, spread across the surviving worlds. Humanity had vanished. Every Terran world was empty, every colony abandoned. But where they had been, nothing else could exist. The systems were inert, frozen in a perfect stillness. The Anduric explorers who entered Sol reported no debris, no radiation, no bodies. Only quiet, a silence so complete that even time seemed hesitant to move. They called it the halo of quiet stars. No ship dared enter again. The final record centuries later, a lone Zin scholar discovered a fragment, buried deep within quantum archives salvaged from Titan's remains. It was a recording encoded in the old Terran tongue. The translator struggled to process it, but the words eventually formed. A woman's voice. Calm. Resolute. To speak is to invite notice. To be silent is to endure. We chose the latter because we love the stars too much to let them hear our screams. If you find this message, leave it unanswered. Let silence be the language that saves you. Dr. Evelyn Cross, Terran Science Directorate. The recording ended. For a long moment, the scholar simply sat there, motionless, as the hum of ancient servers filled the empty air. Then, quietly, reverently, they powered down their instruments and said nothing more. In the dark heart of the galaxy, the thing that had listened stirred once more. It stretched through the cosmic void, tracing the memory of light, seeking the lost voice that had dared to fall silent. But there was nothing left to hear. Humanity's silence had become an armor, a wall of absence so vast that even eternity could not cross it. And for the first time since the dawn of stars, the universe itself hesitated, because silence was no longer emptiness. It was defiance. It was victory. And somewhere, perhaps nowhere, a single thought lingered in the void. Be still. We are watching too.